Today we're just going to discuss something which is completely about, I wouldn't even say it's super relevant, it's something that we must know because you're hearing news that your colleagues taken ill, you're wondering, worried, is it going to be corona, is it going to be quarantine, what are you going to do? So thank you so much for all the lovely feedback. But today I thought we'll just demystify this thing about what should I do when somebody who I know either at work or a neighbor or somebody have been working with or meeting once. Maybe I met this person once last week and they turned out to be positive, or they have been taken ill. What should be my next steps? Before you all think about why Dr. Varun is here on this topic, Doc, tell me about the list of specialties that are at maximum risk of picking up coronavirus from their workplace. I think dentistry is there next to respiratory and ENT. So Dr. Varun has been doing quite a bit of work on this, and I'm going to be asking him about how the infection control works at his workplace. But we're also going to take some takeaways from that as to how we are going to be at the grocery shop, how we are going to manage if your neighbors taking ill. We're going to take his workplace experiences and innovations, and then try and see how it can be applied in our day-to-day life. Should we worry about corona? Let's start there, Doc. Should we worry about corona?
So firstly, thanks for having me on here again, Doc. It's a pleasure to be here. And, this is a very relevant topic and something which we definitely need to address. And a lot of people have so many questions. And I think one of the biggest culprits which is making everyone confused are the WhatsApp forwards. So, I thought it would be good to address all of these questions with some science.
True.
Should you be worried about corona? Yes. Should you be worried to the level that the media is making you worry? Probably not.
True.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about how is it relevant in dentistry, and why do you have this interest in disinfection? What exactly has been the learning from March when these discussions started coming up and say, how are we going to practice, how are we going to live, to now where you have some knowledge, but as we were discussing earlier, this is something that's really evolving very fast. So what has been your learning so far?
Yeah, so dentistry is actually very, very closely related to this whole thing. And the reason for that is, we as dentists, if all of you have ever been to a dentist before, what you guys may have had done to you is an aerosol generating procedure, which means like a scaling, for example. When you do a scaling, when you do a cleaning, there's like a cloud of vapor which is going around, right? So that is your aerosol. And now that has been shown, well, it's not been shown, it's been suspected that maybe these aerosols carry the virus. So as soon as coronavirus started and they said, it's a high risk, it's a respiratory disease, you can spread it because of coughing and sneezing, then all the dentists around the world said, hey, what about aerosols? We work with aerosols all day long. Now we've realized the risk of aerosols are quite less. But in March and April, when we were in lockdown, our medical colleagues are, of course, working and doing their best to, keep everything going in terms of healthcare. We dentists had a lot of time to sit and do a lot of research as to what is actually relevant to keep ourselves safe. So we have actually spent plenty of hours. It will be like 10 hours a day just looking at research papers, trying to evaluate what is the safest way to go shopping, to deal with your driver, to deal with the domestic help who comes home, whatever. All of those questions were answered. So that's why a dentist is sitting in front of you today to give you these tidbits of information, because we are at the highest risk in terms of the hierarchy of risk. It's dentists, dental assistants, dental hygienists, and then everyone else. Even the respiratory techs are much lower risk than ours.
True. Now the first question is, what if somebody in my neighborhood, be it in my building, be it in my somebody in my neighborhood, my street, above, below, my neighborhood, immediate neighborhood, what if somebody is said to be positive? What do I do in the common areas? What do I do generally? What should I do?
Yeah, so it really depends on where this positive patient is, right? If this positive patient is in your street or in the next building or in the next house, I don't think you need to worry at all. You don't need to care. the cloud of corona is not going to fly and come into your house and affect you. That's not going to happen. But the
You see
media
these
makes it believe
videos,
that
no,
that's going
Doc?
to
You see
happen.
these videos when
Yeah.
people are talking, then there is this cloud going up. Then if you cough, and then if you sing or if you shout out loud, then there is a lot together, right? So you
Yeah.
see that,
See,
you see those videos around.
the
They're
two
like very scary.
people the two people talking and the cloud coming, that is actually relevant. But your neighbor, the person living next door, if he or she has corona and they are being quarantined in their house, there is nothing for you to worry. There is absolutely nothing for you to worry. And now coming to, let's say, in your apartment building, the next flat, there is someone who has a case,
Like a common,
or
like a
the flat
common
above you,
area.
yeah, common area. I would say the only potential source of getting the coronavirus from someone who's that close to you as a positive case is maybe the elevator, maybe the lift, right? Because they would be touching the buttons, but you're expecting that this patient is quarantined. Now we're imagining worst case scenario. Let's say the wife of the guy who's got it has now unknowingly got it. She's asymptomatic. She doesn't show any symptoms, and now she is essentially using the elevator day in and day out. And you may go and touch the same buttons. So I would say if there's someone in your building who's a known case, just avoid using the elevator. So I live in a building which has only 2 floors, so I just climb up the 2 floors. I know that's not practical all the time,
It's
but
not.
I think
Yeah. So
the
what?
building management,
Yeah.
the
What
building
measures have you
management
put?
in
Sorry, you go ahead.
yeah, in the building management, instead of spending all their time in trying to dictate who enters and who exits the building, I think they should be spending more time cleaning the elevators and the common areas.
Yeah, that's one thing that we have very positively. Like, they in my building, they take a lot of care about the elevator hygiene per se. But it's also very easy that if you, like for me, I'm at this point, if I'm not infected, if I'm always going to wear a mask in a public place, and if I follow safe hygiene measures, like, even after I use the elevator, I use my hand sanitizer, or there are a couple of buildings that are providing toothpicks and stuff to usually touch the buttons and everything.
Oh,
Generally,
right.
I'm
Yeah.
going to treat myself as, being universally exposed, not just in the lift, but in general, maintaining social distance. Mask even when you are, otherwise regularly going, because sometimes you have people that come in. We'll talk about the delivery boys next. There's sometimes the people
Yeah.
that come in that you don't know the status of, or even if we are ourselves asymptomatic, if in the common places, if people are always wearing a mask and not touching everywhere, we have these lift hygiene instructions stuck in every
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. Things need to be proactive
close
on
to the
taking care of that.
don't lean against the walls, don't talk to people, turn away. And
Yeah.
in the clinic we have these distancing that is also there in the elevator. They mark the floor, and then people are
Right.
supposed to stand, and then we have practices for cleaning the buttons and stuff like that. But I guess if somebody is positive around, there's nothing we can do now at this point. What do you say, Doc? There's no need to
There's
do.
nothing you have to do. There's
Yeah.
nothing you have to do. For me, it makes no difference if, let's say, the person living on the floor below me is corona positive versus 5 streets away. For me, I would do exactly the same thing, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, because otherwise then the whole stigma builds up and nobody discloses, and then it becomes a mess. Otherwise, if everybody's
Then it
like
becomes a
calm and
problem.
not panicked about the whole thing, yeah, because we are anyway following these measures and social distancing and stuff, so I think it should all be clear. So for those of you who have a neighbor, just stay calm. For those of you who have it in the next building, probably doesn't mean much to you. Still, you should not let down your guard and still wear whatever precautions you're supposed to follow. Now, talking
One
about
thing for the
dressing.
elevators,
Yeah.
one thing for the elevators, there's a recommendation. You could use maybe your sleeve instead of using fingertips to touch the buttons, use the sleeve.
Yeah.
If you or the wrist. But I was once actually at the start of Corona, I was using my elbow, and then I realized that's like probably not a good idea, because how often would you go and sanitize your elbow or wash your elbow? So the point is, don't get exposed skin to touch it. If you're getting exposed skin to touch it, use your knuckle or use your wrist or something like that, which you could easily sanitize.
Or come back. Anyway, when you come into the house, we're all sanitizing as we enter
You're
the
going to
house.
wash, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the other thing about the lifts also was that people wear gloves when they go and touch the lips. That's not fair because you'll be very confident with your gloves, so you'll go touch everything else as well. So no gloves,
Exactly.
just
Yeah.
go with your hands, and after you're done, you just cleanse, or you can use these toothpicks and discard them off if you want to. Or I think if you're anyway attuned to sanitizing, you should just go ahead and do that.
You should go ahead and do it.
Anything about the people that we don't know? Now we talked about the residents. What about the guys that come in? Like, say, people asked about delivery guys.
Yeah. So I
What
think one
about-
of the most frequent questions is the delivery guys and the Swiggy guys and the Zomato guys and whatnot.
Yes,
I
yes.
think irrespective of the company
Yeah.
that they're coming from, they are all potentially carriers of the virus. So I think that non-contact delivery is actually a fantastic thing, that they essentially deliver the item to you at a place which is at a certain distance and then they leave. All the
Okay.
payment is done through Google Pay or it's done through your credit card or whatever. There's no
more
exchange of cash.
Yeah.
Yeah, no more cash at all. And we are fortunate that, we had this demonetization now looking back because a lot of people have this Paytm and all this stuff already set up. So it was kind of easy to get into it. And so essentially if someone catches corona from a delivery boy or from a delivery, it's actually from the delivery boy and not from the pizza itself. Does that make sense? Right? It's the guy who's delivering the item.
The importance of fomites is coming down much less, right?
Is actually right now it's like very, very low risk of fomites. Fomites are those things which live on surfaces, right? And you may catch it from those. If the virus is on a box, for example, can you get it? This is the scenario. If the delivery guy sneezed on the box right before he gave it to you, then you took it, you touched the sneeze particle, and then you somehow managed to touch your nose or your eyes or your mouth, then you might catch it. So it's like a long string of events which has to happen to make that possible. If you want to be super cautious,
your food is positive? Not really, right? What if the person who cooks your food is positive?
no, if the person who's cooking
on the pizza had corona and coughed on the pizza, oh my god, that's like
So,
a general
yeah.
bad hygiene in general.
No. This is a great question. It's a great question. So let's assume that the person who cooked your food is positive, right? So what
Yeah.
you could do is you receive the food outside the house. You of course are not letting delivery people in the house. From the pizza box or from whatever, if you've ordered Chinese, whatever those plastic containers, you take it and you transfer it to your own vessels. You discard all of those boxes outside the house. Now everything's in your own vessel. Shove it in the microwave. In 3 to 5 minutes, whatever virus is in there is dead in the microwave. And then wash your hands, of course, when you're wearing a mask when you're doing the receiving of the food.
I'll have my pizza with extra cheese and no sneeze, please.
That's my sister-in-law.
Right. So, but I also read about this thing about how people think that, when people have typhoid and there is a big fecal-oral route and they carry it, as compared to this, which is not really something that you look at it like your cook is infected and therefore she'll infect multiple people over a period of time. Like he said, you could obviously just splash heat it for a few minutes and then have it. Anyway, the thing that to do with pizza when the cheese is almost not as, the cheese needs to be hot. So that's fine.
Yeah.
And
just reheat the food, you're fine.
Sorry, Doc?
You just reheat the food, whatever food it is. Even if it's hot, just reheat it, just as precaution.
Yeah. There are a lot of requests for us to save this live. I will be putting it up on the IGTV. So yes, it will be around for a while. So that's covered. And I had another question about, now they say asymptomatic patients aren't contagious. Is that true? No.
No, that statement was withdrawn. The statement itself. They initially said asymptomatic patients low risk of transmission. Yes, it's low risk of transmission, but the WHO kind of changed their stance, and they basically said not enough evidence to make that statement. So we are assuming.
Yeah, initially they were actually saying that children and younger adults may not show symptoms, but they are very good they do transmit pretty well. So I do not know when this went around, and then I think now it's back. And they even say that if you've been positive and then tested negative, then you could still have the virus positive in PCR, but the infectivity is less. Probably that is what is meant by here. I'm not too sure. What do you think, Doc?
Yeah, so PCR tests for the presence of the virus. It does not test if the virus is dead or alive. This is a very important point, right? So there's actually a case where I think it was someone in Korea who 40 days after a negative test tested positive, something like that. There's some odd
Yeah.
thing, but these people, if you isolate the virus and you put it for actual culture, does the virus grow? Does it replicate? Probably not. So it's most likely that his body still has the dead virus. So obviously not going to be transmitting the virus to other people.
Okay. I think, yeah, taste and smell gone even after recovery from corona.
Yeah, so that's that anosmia condition. It's staying after they're declared COVID negative. It seems like it's going to take a couple of months to come back fully.
Okay.
The reason for that is actually very interesting. It seems like the nerve endings purposely cut off the taste and the smell to the brain, the perception to the brain, so the virus does not go along those pathways and infect the brain. I mean, this is hypothesis. No one knows if all that is true, but
We had questions on the courier and stuff. So
yeah, it's the same thing. Avoid contact with the delivery boy. You don't need to quarantine the packages. I saw someone asking that question. You
yeah.
don't need to like put the packages in a jail and then wait for it for like 2 days and then take it out. All that stuff came from a study which said that cardboard the virus survives in for 3 days, and for stainless steel it survives even longer. But again, the infectivity of that virus is not really there. You may be able to do a PCR and you may be able to find the virus particle, but is it really infectious? No. But how do you want to deal with packages? Let's say you've ordered a brand new cell phone and it's inside a cardboard box usually. Open the cardboard box, dump the contents wherever inside your house, throw out the outside Amazon box, and if you're super, super, super cautious, you can wipe down the box with hand sanitizer as well. Wash your hands after that. You're fine.
Doc, you're just gonna take the question on the you're just gonna take the question on dental visits. I am having some connectivity glitch. So are you still able to see me well?
I'm able to see you well. It sometimes cuts on and off. That's it.
Yeah, but you can see all the way. I can't see half of it.
I can see. No, I can see. You're all there. Yeah.
Okay, all of it. Okay. Please, can you tell me about dental visits there?
Yeah. So, some people are delaying their dental visits, and this doesn't just apply to dental, this applies to all medical conditions. Some people are delaying it, saying that I will do my visits after the pandemic passes, right? The problem is we don't know when the pandemic will pass. And right now, if your healthcare providers are comfortable enough to continue providing healthcare services, now is the time to go to them if you have a problem. Don't wait till X date in the future where corona is suddenly going to disappear, because we know it's not. And if your problem is urgent, get it looked at. Don't make it an emergency. Don't make an urgent problem an emergency. So I would say if you have a problem, get it looked at.
So that includes me having to plan my visit in the near future. So
Yes, absolutely.
like I seem to be having some. I'm not able to see half of the screen.
Do you want to? I
No,
can
no,
see you just fine
I
now.
think it was a good one. I wanted to save all of this, and there's Rashmi there. She constantly brainstorms with us on better ways to do the PP. So hi there. And
Hi, Rashmi.
Doc, can you tell us? Can you continue on the thing about the sanitization that you'd normally recommend for vegetables that you pick up from the process? Yeah.
Yeah, so there's nothing really special needed for vegetables, right? You could buy the vegetables, you wash them regularly, and you would use them, and you're going to probably cook them and use them, so that's fine. If you want to be extra cautious, I've given my family these chlorine tablets, and they're available online. The website, I have no affiliation with the website, by the way. It's Aqua Pura, P-U-R-A-S-H-O-P.
Could you leave them in a post after this in your page? We can just.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah. So when you go to Aqua Pura shop.
Yeah, after I post the IGTV, you can just put that below. Yeah, just below.
I'll put that below.
Thank you, Doc.
Yeah, so these are one of the guys who have been selling these chlorine tablets where you would mix it, you'd put a tablet in a liter of water and wash your vegetables with that for 10 minutes and so let your vegetables soak and then you rinse it out. So they give you the clear instructions, which I think it has some merit for vegetables because, like in markets like Coimbatore, it's very crowded. There could be people, there could be respiratory droplets on this, we don't know. But they also sell tablets for washing clothes, which I think is a little bit ridiculous. Like, because anyway, your clothes are going to be washed in hot water and soap inside a washing machine. Why do you need a chlorine tablet or bleach or anything extra in there? So that stuff doesn't make sense. Only for the vegetables, I thought, okay, there's a little bit of merit over here, so we're using it.
Yeah, yeah. And we also were thinking about cooking or baking soda. We were thinking about vinegar and stuff. So I think those were initially the baking soda, water and stuff were being discussed. Now they have some veggie wash, which again is being considered as safe for us to take. And then or grow your own vegetables apparently.
Yeah, a lot of it is fake oil also. A lot of it is just. I'll just tell everyone and request all of you right now. Please don't buy UV lights for your house. People are trying to push UV. UVC lights are extremely dangerous. If you look at them for too long, you can go blind. You can have retinal damage, which is permanent, and they are terrible for the skin. Doc, I'm sure you can attest to that. So someone tries to sell me. They said you can put this UVC light in the corner of the room. You step out of the room, and then you have a remote control, and you turn it on from outside the room, right? And I'm like, oh, what if my toddler walks into the room accidentally? No, you have to keep the room locked. I'm like, okay, sounds like a safety hazard, but still, let's entertain this discussion. So it's on one side of the room. And how does the UVC reach the other side of the bed, right? UVC has to have direct line of sight. So what happens to the corona, which is hanging out near the bed, right? Nothing. It's just pointless. So don't buy into this stuff.
Yep. And question about now that we are in the vegetable field, now, what about the masks that you do when you go out to buy, groceries? I was thinking that initially I would be comfortable with just the cloth mask, but now as more people are walking around with a lot more possibility of infection and stuff, is there a reason to wear the N95 and go across? Because I was very comfortable with, like a distance and then you wear cloth masks. But sometimes I see the crowding that happens. People do come a little too close. Even if you're walking on the street, even when there's so much space, there's always a tendency to go right past somebody who's just...
Indians have a magnetism. We have a magnetism. We're all just attracted to each other.
So I was just crossing the corner. Then there are 4 people and the 5th person goes right past them and there's just the rest of the road literally is empty. So I was thinking, in those cases, is a cloth mask still going to be enough?
Yeah, I would say a cloth mask is still enough. I would say avoid the N95 mask. And if you actually look at the recommendations, they'll say avoid the N95 mask to make N95 more available for healthcare workers like you and me. But, not everyone is going to have this selfless approach. They're going to say, no, I need to protect myself. I need to protect my family, which is perfectly understandable. The big problem is N95 masks, unless they are officially fit tested, they are practically useless.
Yeah.
Right? They are a small barrier. A fit tested mask means it has to be made for the right size. It has to be the right size for your face. Then they will take something which smells quite strong. And if you can't smell it, then the N95 mask works. All of the stuff which is advertised online as an N95 mask, like this thing, is not an N95 mask. This is a cloth mask with a piece of plastic over here. This is called a valve. And actually, here's the interesting part. This is actually a fake valve. This valve doesn't even open. It's just simply there for show to make it look cool. And what I would suggest is please do not buy any mask which has a valve, because what happens when you have a real valve, not this dummy valve, the air which you breathe out does not get filtered. So if you possibly have corona and you're an asymptomatic carrier and you're now meeting someone else, the air which you're breathing out could have particles of the virus because this is not filtering it. So that's the only thing. So regular cloth mask.
And unfortunately, if you remember, Doc, when we were initially like March, April, when we were sourcing, those were the only ones that were available. So sometimes when
Yeah.
I wear that, I wear the surgical mask on top so that there's some layer of filtering, but then that's too much of occlusion. Which brings me to AR Nikesh's question about any precautionary measures for gym goers. Is it fine to put on a reusable mask? I'm worried about working out and wearing a mask because I already feel very uncomfortable and hypoxic and irritable while wearing a mask. So I do not know how you balance working out on it.
See, firstly, most gyms are not going to open for a while. If you have a private gym that you have access to, make sure that you're the only person in the gym while you're using the gym, or at least the other person is far away. Using a mask in the gym has not been recommended because when you're working out, you're going to be kind of breathless and the mask is going to make it worse. And then now you're running the risk of being hypoxic, which means you're not getting enough oxygen. So highly not recommended to wear. And anyway, the virus doesn't spread through sweat, just FYI.
If the person infected with there's somebody about Kabasura Kudineer for pregnant women. There's not enough data on this being effective. There is one study that I'm told is going on with the Kabasura Kudineer in MMC or Stanley. I'm not sure which hospital, but for pregnant women, I think, in my opinion, I would say it is as a no. I've had somebody who developed, I had two people, one somebody I know very well, and for the clinic who developed something like a Stevens-Johnson, which is like a significant drug allergy with Kabasura Kudineer. So, almost like with oral ulcerations, and somebody else with angioedema, eye swelling after starting Kabasura Kudineer. So, my opinion is, I'm not for it, but there is a study that is technically going on, and we welcome such studies. Before we say like working, not working, there's a study that's going on, which I am very interested to know what the outcome is. And
Right.
And then,
Doc, I have a question for you. With all of the gear that you're wearing, especially the face shield which sits on top over here, there's sometimes like acne and heat blisters and all of that stuff which comes. And since we're going to talk about face shields now, I thought, what would be your take on that?
no, that's basically what we call as a sweat occlusion acne. You have, and yes, here I will talk about my important point as if you're going to wear something occlusive all the time, please don't oil your scalp. Yeah. So what
Don't
happens
oil.
is,
Yeah.
yeah. So what happens is when you have a lot of occlusion with sweat and oil, it actually gives you this occlusion acne from stuff sitting on for too long, and it's almost like a physical. The skin isn't allowed to drain and breathe as it should, so it creates a bit of acne. I'm having a lot of people with perioral dermatitis, perioral acne with a long wear mask, not with the stuff that like I'm wearing for a short period of time. I don't really see much of a discomfort, but I see people on duty, 6 hours duty, 8 hours duty, they do develop a lot of inflammation in this area. I also feel much of it is attributable to the dehydration because once you get into the mask, you don't really take even a water break as much as you should.
Yeah,
Right, Tom?
exactly.
So
Yeah,
you
yeah,
basically
very
not
tough.
wanting to touch anything. So for those who are really, working in hospitals, in doing duties, I think this is a very relevant issue. In my opinion, I think just try to give yourself a break. Try to use a non-comedogenic sunscreen if you are exposed to lights also, like if you're operating and or if you're in the ICU in bright lights also, if you can. Otherwise, you need to just use a gentle face wash for now. Not to worry. If you're using products like benzoyl peroxide for the acne and you go in again the next day, it's going to irritate your skin there.
It's going to
So
make it
I would
worse.
say,
Yeah.
yeah, I would say have a cotton strip or something. Doc, you were experimenting with cotton strips. You were experimenting with cloth strips to reduce the occlusion.
With that leather strip, it comes inside a sunglass case, no? I use that and I've cut it like a square. It works a lot better. There's a lot less pressure. It's slightly red, but it's a lot more manageable. I'll do a post about that
You
soon.
cut up your
But that helped a
sunglass.
lot. Thank you.
You cut up your sunglass cover, Doc?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, that works well.
Okay, so if you have a sunglass cover that you are willing to sacrifice, I think that will work for the nose. And I also want you guys to check out the ear saver, which many of you gave me feedback that it works beautifully well for you. So you can just check that out either on my page or on Dr. Varun's page. I really think it made a lot of sense, Doc. And people
Thank you, Doc. Yeah,
we had that earlier S-shaped thing, but it was too small. It would still
it was too tight.
Yeah, this adjustable thing really makes a lot of sense. will everyone die of corona? No, no. I think the human race has got more spunk and more resources than that. I think it's a matter of
Yeah.
staying sensible. It's a matter of
Yeah. I think everyone will die of old age mostly, but not corona. So,
yeah. Doc, we were talking about is being paranoid a wrong thing right now? I really like what you had to say about there.
yeah, you need to be slightly paranoid and you need to be precaution. You have to take precautions, right? You have to be very, very cautious about what you're doing. But I don't think you should be like crazy paranoid like what the media is making you feel like. You need
Okay.
to understand that it is a droplet infection. If someone you're talking to very close by or sneezing or coughing near you, that's the risk. And if you're catching it from an object, it's because you touched an infected object and then touched your nose, mouth, and ears. If you have those two concepts firm, unshakable, then you're going to be a lot more relaxed with this whole thing.
Doc, can you tell us a little bit more? Because I think there are a few dentists around here who want to talk about the other one that you have, which actually keeps the mask in place, about the different fabrics that you have tried in terms of the N95 itself. Apart from that, what else do you use? What is your donning doffing technique?
So I'm going to do a full review on like I think 6 types of masks very soon. So should we defer to that or should I get into
Yeah.
it?
So those of you who have questions about what should you wear and for what procedures, what is a mask, I think you probably can have that addressed to Dr. Varun, and he will answer that when he prepares his.
Yeah, in a week or so I'll come up with a video. There's one important question here. Can we postpone the vaccination for baby? Absolutely not. Please don't postpone vaccinations. Get the vaccines done on time and talk to your pediatrician. Most likely they're going to say the same thing.
Yeah. So there's no change in the universal vaccination protocol at this point. Everything is going on as per plan. So you probably need to just go ahead and do this. Obviously, there'll be the anxiety of going to the hospital, but I think many hospitals, now that it's almost like 4 months into the pandemic, all of us are kind of getting equipped to handle people without putting people at risk of infection or putting our staff at risk of infection. So that's fine.
Right.
But what is your take on how long this thing is going to last? Please.
Your opinion, Doc.
Sorry?
Your opinion. Your opinion. What do you think?
No, I'm told that you probably will peak towards the end of this year. So I'm just totally going to write off 2020. I was telling people that, I would have been more okay if it was 2021 that looked this ugly, or if it is 2019, which just looks incomplete. It was 2020, it was like almost like a designer year, and it just went kaput right from the word code. It's just like total washout. So yes.
So if you remember, like in February, they said our peak will be in April. In April, they said our peak will be in June. In June, they're saying our peak will be in August. In August, they're saying our peak will be end of the year. Yeah, nobody knows. Nobody knows. That's basically it. At some point, it's going to blow through a lot of the population, and then we'll get something called herd immunity. And then at that point, this virus is going to subside by itself. Just because some strategist or analyst or whoever it is says that it's going to peak and it's going to subside by this time, all of their predictions have been wrong. So I think even for us to make predictions, it's not really going to stand the test of time because it's hard to predict.
There's a pediatrician there. I'm getting kids who come with sore throat, cough with both parents positive in the OPD. This is a tricky situation. What is your take on this? What precaution? I think at this point you should think everybody is universally infected and you probably need to put in the complete set of precautions. Doc, what about the acrylic walls between examination and stuff?
Acrylic walls between, you mean like a receptionist and the patient, or
the consultants have it between, but I do not know how they will reach out to examine the throat and stuff like that. They have these long shields, like a big shield, but your hands can go around it.
Yeah, I think the best way to answer that question is from the perspective of dentistry, right? With dentistry, we are half a meter away from the patient, like about 12 inches away from the patient.
Yeah.
Until now, there's not been a case of COVID which has been reported worldwide, and we're tracking this very closely, worldwide, which has started from a dental clinic. You can find cases from places of worship, from marriage halls, from bars, from gyms, I'm not sure.
From markets,
from a dental clinic. From markets, yeah. But from dental clinics, it's not happened, and we are maintaining such a close distance. We are working in the mouth. We are breathing on the patient all the time. They are breathing on us all the time. We have a mask on, but they don't have a mask on. We don't have any plexiglass barrier or anything like that. But if you're in a healthcare environment where you're seeing people coming in for diagnostics, you don't even need the N95. That's where the trend is going right now. You don't need N95. You do need a face shield just in case you're avoiding splatter going into the eyes, especially, and a simple surgical mask. One of the things I put on my stories a couple of days ago was something called a mask fitter. So you use an iPhone 11 or more, which does face scanning. It takes an image of this part of the face, and then you can 3D print a fitter over here, and then you can kind of hold it in. So it's a regular surgical mask, but it's held in very tight. So you have a perfect seal. And I've tried it. It works really great. So you don't need to waste N95. Potentially, you could do it. If any healthcare people are in Chennai and want me to make this for them, I'm happy to make this for them.
Yeah, because I think if the 3D if the 3D printing can help you utilize the surgical masks better, I think for the long run, especially considering we're only building up to the peak, it'll be better. Yeah.
Exactly.
And Doc, somebody asked me about the N95, how to reuse the N95. So we in the clinic have this 5 mask system. So when you're working from Tuesdays to Saturdays, we give them 5 masks to put in different 5 paper covers, which are used on those specific days. It's quite hot in the clinic, so they are left out on the other days. So you use your Tuesday masks on Tuesdays. So after about 4 such cycles, we dispose of them. What is your opinion on this?
We are using I think it was the Taiwanese FDA's method, which is the rice cooker method. And the first time I saw it, I was like, this is ridiculous. And then I actually looked at the papers, I looked at the science, and it's essentially using dry heat from a rice cooker. A rice cooker costs what, like 2,000 rupees. A rice cooker, dry heat, for 3 minutes it's heated. And we take it out, we put it in a bag, cool for 5 minutes, we take it out and we can use it the next day. So you're allowed to heat a mask with dry heat for 3 times, beyond which it tends to break down. What we do is we only heat it twice and then we throw it. So we get about 24 hours of usage with this protocol from a single mask.
Yeah. So we've been doing it the week method. So we've been keeping it out in the sun to really get maybe about an hour.
But you've been giving time. You've been giving 24 hours. We are giving less than. So that's the difference between your method and mine. Yeah.
A week to come back.
Someone's asking if you can wash an N95. Please don't do that. You cannot wash an N95.
Yeah.
It does not work.
Autoclave, I'm not too sure, because they were talking about the moisture that comes from autoclaving to trouble. But if you're in a hospital, people are also talking about ETO sterilization for masks and stuff. But the problem is, when you've used it and it goes to ETO, which is like a big unit, and then it has to come back to you, it is a little bit of a mess.
Right. I think whatever method you're using, healthcare workers who are listening, just look at the evidence to see if there's anything to support the method.
For Sridarshan, he's got a smart question there. With many people touch their nose while wearing a mask, is it potential enough to spread the virus? Oh, this is constant handling this that happens all the time. So that's something that, that's something that needs to be kind of discouraged. But I find it difficult to tell the children not to do it, because my daughter likes to, constantly keep checking if the mask is in place and if there is anything. So there's a constant touch. So, and it's important that her mask be cute. It's important that her mask be personalized. So, all of that. Because otherwise it becomes very difficult to have her. I do take her down for a couple of minutes, or like maybe even a few days once, just to see that, yes, not to get bored and to handle her. So then it has to be a proper beautiful mask session that needs to go on. Matching clips and matching clothes all the way.
Very important.
Very important. Right. And is it safe to come to Chennai now? Doc?
Yeah, why not? Yes. It's safe to, as long as you're taking the precautions on the flight. It is safe to travel. The airlines are going to take care of that. They're going to give you PPE and all that gear. You make sure that you're not too close to anyone. You're not huddled up. Try to avoid getting a middle seat. Today I heard that the airlines give free PPE for the middle seat people, but for the ones on the aisle and the window, they have to buy the PPE if they want. I thought that was like very funny to hear, but that's what they told me.
It's ridiculous, doc. It's not even funny. It's just ridiculous.
No, it's a consolation prize. Look, you got the middle seat. Here's your free PP.
Yeah. So another thing about the cabin crew, we've been seeing a few cabin crew in online consultations, and they do say that they have a lot of, a mood issue and hypoxia, and they feel uncomfortable when they are in PP for really, really long. So it's going to be a very challenge and getting used to all of that. And they are people that need to be alert all the time, right? So
Yeah.
when it is a long day, long haul flight. So I think now they're doing these smallish duration flights, shorter duration flights, so it works quite well. But when it goes for a long time, it's going to be a little difficult to reach her.
This happened to me. Sorry, this happened to me, Doc. When I first started wearing all the N95 and all that stuff, I would wear it for about 3 hours. I'd be in a terribly bad mood. I would be yelling at everyone, and I would come home so tired, exhausted. It takes about 1 month to kind of get used to it. I was checking with a pulse oximeter to make sure that my saturation levels are all fine. It was fine, but I was miserable. And then somehow your body just kind of acclimatizes. Now I'm perfectly fine. I can work for 4-5 hours and it's like normal.
And I wanted to add that about the pulse oximeter, because now there's a recent article also about how pulse oximetry might be something that can pick up symptoms pretty early. So it is good to have. We were screening people who were coming in with the pulse oximeter, because I had a couple of friends that tell that people come in pretty healthy, but if you look at the saturation, it's really not up there. It's less than 95, and they need to be immediately taken up for care. So I do not know if it is practical or feasible to have the pulse oximeter at home for literally everybody, like I do. I have one because I picked it up from my clinic and kept it at home now. We used to have a number of them, but I do not know if it is. And the pulse oximeters are selling at 5 times the original price that they used to last year.
So, they used to be about 2,000 rupees. I don't know what they are now.
We bought them in bulk because we were having multiple rooms and stuff. So we bought them in bulk, and it was as cheap as some 900,000 bucks for last year. Now I think a good brand is around, Omron is still okay. It's not too terrible. We have a lot of these other also brands that are almost from 2K to 4K and all the way up. There's this question about, to reach herd level, we will be losing many of your loved ones. Is that the only way possible? Right now,
you want to get that?
I always feel, we talk about numbers, no, Doc, when we say 5 people, 5% or 10%, but for that family that loses the individual, it's 100% loss. I always feel that when people say, okay, maybe not us, maybe somebody else gets infected. But yes, whoever has that mortality or whoever has that significant discomfort, even those who have recovered sometimes do have some sequelae. So even for them, it is an 100%.
It is a big loss.
So the question right now is that one of the reasons why we were asked to stay home, to maintain the social distance, to wear all the masks, was that if there is enough bed availability, if there is enough healthcare workers, if there are enough healthcare workers available, it is possible to give attention and save a lot of people. The whole mess happens when there is a mismatch of what's available versus the number of sick people that are trying to access healthcare. And that's why even if you are healthy, even if you are young, you are trying to break the chain of transmission by doing all the things that people harp about. However boring it is, however people think like, oh, we've heard about COVID all this while, can't you talk about something else? It is relevant now because every single day
absolutely
is important. So I feel if we have less people reporting, I feel we can definitely manage this. What's your take on this, Doc?
Yeah, the interesting thing, we all know this asymptomatic cases, they're not showing any signs of the disease. And that seems like a bad thing, but on the flip side, it's also a good thing, because what they're saying is to achieve herd immunity, now the rate is somewhere around 40% is what they're saying. 40% of people need to have a known diagnosis of COVID, which means they're actually assuming a far greater percentage is infected who have not even tested. So all of that is contributing to the herd immunity. So this question of do all of us need to get it and will a lot of us die, that's not true. There just needs to be enough of people who catch it to break that chain of transmission.
Yeah. And however boring it seems, however tiresome it seems, do that hand sanitization, wear that mask, keep that social distance. I know we want to see friends, right? I know we want to meet people. There is always this. I say that there are not many positive things that are happening on a day-to-day basis. We used to go to that movie. We used to catch up with friends. We used to hang out. We used to go around. All that has been muted down, but still
All that is stuff. Yeah.
required for now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, the price of the pulse oximeter is 5K now. So we have an
5K.
update.
Yeah.
Yeah. How to
Someone's asked how our Android gadgets, we're looking at the same thing. Yeah, whether you're using Android or iPhones, I don't think it matters. But basically, they've said that it's safe to use hand sanitizer on these, or you could use a sort of disinfecting wipe on these devices, and that's good enough.
They
But
have
that's an important question.
okay.
It's an important question. It's a big source of infection also. But so you wipe it down, it's fine.
Yeah. And there's one brand, I forgot the name, which is about for mobiles and stuff, but it smells hideous, doc. It's just
What
after
it's
that, I think you won't forget about you won't have corona on your phone, you won't have your phone close to you. So it's like it smells hideous. So
yeah,
there
simple
you go
practical
about,
solutions.
I use Sterilium.
Yeah, it's fine. It works fine.
Yeah. And is there chances for some people to catch COVID and the person is unaware of it and recovers all by themselves? Yes. You have a whole
Very
lot
high
of,
chance.
yeah, all the time. Yes.
Yeah.
That's pretty common. Now there is,
Someone asked how to wash a cloth mask.
yeah,
Throw it in the washing machine. Hot water, detergent, washing machine. That's an easy way. If you want to hand wash it with detergent and hot water. That's fine.
yeah.
Some people are using bleach, but again, that means you're going to be smelling bleach when you're wearing the mask, which I don't know if you
It's
want
not a
to.
good idea even for the skin.
It's
No.
not a, yeah, so I would not recommend bleach.
Okay. I also second or third this idea of putting stuff in the washing machine. It gets done. Because when I
And
come
gets
back
done,
and
yeah.
I'm already a little tired, I say like let me soak this for hand wash and I'll come back to it much later. It's so much easier, head straight to the washing machine, finish the work and then take it from there. And it's like now the whole wardrobe is being refitted to have stuff that can be machine washed only. What do you
Right.
say, Doc? With lack of house
Absolutely.
the whole style statement. The first thing I ask if I'm gonna ask somebody to style or something, I'm gonna say it has to be machine washable. Very important.
Machine washable. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone has asked, saying that they used hand sanitizer on their computer screen and completely messed up their computer screen.
True.
Yeah, that can happen. There's something called an oleophobic coating on these devices, which is like to prevent fingerprint smudges, and you may end up wiping that off. And some of these older LCDs may not be able to resist the hand sanitizer. So look at the manual for your device and see what you can use to actually clean it.
Yeah, I've had a computer monitor gone like that. I think that was
Yeah,
the spirit back then.
yeah.
Yeah.
It depends on the coating. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Adults use hand sanitizer. How to safeguard babies? Tricky question
Your
because
question, Doc.
no, I read up about it after that question came up in the list of questions to ask, and all they say is like decrease the level of exposure because masks for babies, especially if they are uncomfortable or if if they are sleeping and you put the mask on, it can be pretty dangerous. So all they ask is
Yeah,
if
yeah.
it is possible for you to shield the baby, like have a distance shield, and that should be good if you're going to and physically distance your babies. All that they say. What about babies coming in contact? I think outside. That's one of the things that helps when you're keeping them home, right? That's one of the things that you're keeping them physically distanced as much as possible. I usually think that if they are within your home environment and if they're going to just wash their hands, and if you are kind of completely taking care of your disinfection before you go across your babies, I think you're okay. But for
Yeah.
mommies and daddies that are coming back from work after having worked in a COVID ward, it is an emotional difficulties. Luckily, some of which is like, I mean, I feel lucky because I'm spared that at this point. But I
Right.
think many babies are wanting to come back to mommies and daddies. Do you have that with your? I have a little older one, like she's 5 years old, so she kind of gets it that immediately she runs in the opposite direction. Back from clinic,
Right.
and like off in the opposite direction. How does your little one react? You have a younger one, so.
Yeah, she's 4. She comes and hugs me, but I'm like, no, 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 hands off till I wash my hands, and then once I wash my hands, it's okay. But the good thing is, kids and babies, the infection is very mild or not at all. It's very, very rare that there are serious complications for kids. Very interestingly, the regular flu for pregnant women seems to be worse than COVID. So COVID in a pregnant woman doesn't seem to do too much damage, and the only recommendation they're doing after delivery is the mother should wear a mask while
Mask.
breastfeeding or any contact with the baby. That's just extra precaution. But compared to the flu, it seems like a pregnant woman getting COVID is better off than if she got the regular seasonal flu.
Okay. And if I met a person 3 to 4 days back with all guards on, like wearing mask and not touching the surfaces, and she becomes positive now, should I worry about it? I don't think so. I don't think
No,
if you are confident of your infection control, then I think you're kind of okay.
right, exactly.
Since we can't have masks on while sleeping on flights, are there chances to spread inside? Is there chance to spread inside flights due to less air? Sorry, is there chance to
Less
spread
air circulation.
inside the flight? Yeah.
Yeah, so actually, this is a misconception that flights have poor air circulation. Flights have better air circulation than most places. You know, really, besides an open window, a flight would be the next best thing. The flights have HEPA filters. They have high efficiency particulate filters which recirculate the air. Every 10 minutes in a flight, you're getting fresh air. Essentially, you're getting filtered fresh air. So a flight, this is not a concern. This is not a worry. I would be more worried about this question with in relevance to, let's say, an IT office where the AC is on, there's poor circulation, everyone's sitting in the same room together. That is more concerning, but not so much for a flight.
Yeah. And is it safe to travel in a flight with a 5-month baby? I think a lot of these questions are very unique to, individuals, and it's nice
Yeah.
that there is a way that we can discuss this today. Because
Yeah.
somebody was asking me, and I was like, I'm not too sure. Let me read up and come back. What is your take on this, Doc?
See, the right answer is we are not so concerned about the baby. We are concerned about the parent, right over here. The baby is not actually going to get too much of an issue with this virus. It's a very, very low risk. I am more worried for the parent traveling on the flight. So irrespective of whether she had a baby or not, I'm going to say, is that journey absolutely important? Is it essential? Do you have to do it? If you have to do it, then take all the precautions and go ahead and do it. But don't be worried so much about the baby.
Yeah. Like Rashmi says, it's the airport and the airport logistics that bothers the most. I have a question there about, is it a good idea to spray the sanitizer over the mask instead of washing it frequently? No, no, it is not recommended at all. You'll feel suffocated, and it'll irritate your skin, it'll irritate your respiratory passages. So no, do not do that at all. I've seen people putting a little bit of sanitizer here. No, it's not Vicks.
Oh no.
No, not at all. Yeah, please never ever do that.
No, please. No, and this actually, I have a question for you, Doc. We already know that soap is better than sanitizer for your hands, right? Because the soap actually breaks up the virus particle much easier than sanitizer. Plus, soap also gets rid of grime and all that. But in terms of skin response, what is better, soap or sanitizer?
Sanitizer is definitely more damaging to the skin's surface as compared to the soap. And what we're doing in terms of the vessel washes are much more damaging in terms of the hand washes. So when you look at the different kind of material that is put into each of these, I see the soaps that are being given out as disinfectants are harsher than the vessel washes.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, so it depends upon what soap you're using. If your soap is going to be really that harsh, you're better off with the sanitizer, which is like, it contains 70% of alcohol and you're kind of okay with that. But it depends upon the product per se, Doc. So
What
this
they
happened
give.
at home. We were out of vessel wash, so by mistake I used hand wash, and I was thinking, how come there's no irritant dermatitis today? And I was comparing the two, and it's basically a little bit of formulation difference. It still is very similar to the vessel wash, but probably a little bit more buffering agents are there. So if your soap is something that says, the pH is going to be alkaline, you will have skin damage as much. And in that case, I'd rather you do the the sanitizer itself. So yes.
The sanitizer. And coming back to soap, I'm a Cetaphil, that mild soap user. Is that good enough as an anti-corona measure?
No, I think it is not meant so much to be antiviral the way we see it.
Right.
I think it's better to go with the current hand sanitizers which are approved. You had passed on a list earlier about which are the products that are approved. I think in terms of
Yeah,
sterilization,
the list and yeah, right.
there's one document that's being circulated about which are the sanitizers that are approved, which are the soaps for hand wash that are being
So
approved. I feel Cetaphil, maybe my opinion, I haven't really tested. There's no studies, there's no data for me to really give you
sure, sure.
a more
Right.
informed answer. But I feel it's a little too gentle because
Yeah.
it's not meant to disturb the integument as much.
Yeah, and it doesn't froth, right? It doesn't have that SLS or whatever that
You can
causes.
still, yeah, you can still have a thorough cleansing, effective cleansing even without that, because it does take off makeup residues, but I don't know if it takes off corona enough because I don't have data as such. But
Yeah.
for the hand wash, I'd rather recommend something a little bit more sturdier, which is the current ones. The people are actually the ones that are from the big companies, be it HUL or be it the current FMCGs, whatever formulations they are, it's actually a little stronger, and they are being made to adhere to the guidelines. So I'd rather try those than use the cleanser for the hand at this point. Maybe you can use a
Right.
double cleansing for your hands.
No, I just switched to like Dettol or whatever regular soap. Even I had the suspicion that maybe it's a little too mild. And
Yeah.
since I'm in healthcare, I just switched to like.
I don't have correct hard data to give you on that, but it's just my feeling at this point, knowing how gentle
Right.
it can be.
Right.
Yeah. 3 days before, my dad spoke to one of the persons who came near our home and took a piece of paper, and this morning he's corona positive. I'm told that people in the containment zones, 30 to 40% of them may have had some amount of exposure. So I don't know if that one act makes a difference. What is your take on that?
No, and also I think it really depends. Was this person's dad wearing a mask? Was the person who spoke to this person's father wearing a mask? Those are the important questions. Like the risk of, if both of them are wearing a mask, the risk of anything transmitting is extremely low.
Yeah.
But if they've had a lengthy conversation with each other, over 10 minutes, and both of them are not wearing a mask and they were catching up on old times, then there's a good chance it may have transmitted.